I'm going to introduce Karina Massey of Jacobs Associates and Nicole Veronesi. They're going to present on Waterbury's Capacity Management and Operation Maintenance Program. It's the CMOM program. Katrina is currently working out of the Jacobs office, Jacobs Wethersfield office. Ms. Massey has provided engineering and management services during the project and program planning, design, bidding, construction phase, and various wastewater municipalities throughout Connecticut. She has experience working with Jacobs Operations and Maintenance Group to provide specialized guidance on CMOM and compliance issues, ensuring EPA and Connecticut DEP guidances are followed. Karina has a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering from UConn and a Master's degree in Construction Management from CCSU, and also has a Construction Management and Training Certificate. Nicole Veronesi is a civil water and wastewater EIT and has been involved in CMOM, SSES, and sanitary sewer rehab projects since graduating from Western New England University in 2020. She also has a background in water quality treatment from her time as a lab tech at Mattabesset District Water Pollution Control Facility. Ms. Veronesi is proficient in analyzing flow monitoring data, generating GIS maps, reviewing collection system data, reviewing CCTV, CIP installations, all related to providing CMOM support for the Jacobs design team in Wethersfield. So give them a round of applause to start off with.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Can we hear us okay? Thank you, everyone, for inviting us to speak today. We have a good presentation today about the great things that Waterbury WPC has been doing with their CMOM program over the last few years. My name's Karina Massey. I am a project manager for Jacobs.
And I'm Nicole Veronesi. I'm a project engineer for Jacobs.
Right, so as most of you know with CMOM programs, they're huge. So we're just going to hit some of the highlights today, give you kind of like a brief overview of Waterbury's system, and then some of the corrective action plan focus areas. So Waterbury's control facility is at 210 Municipal Road, and for all of you that know about Waterbury, it's a very diverse city with residential areas, industrial, commercial. So we have a lot of different moving parts when you deal with the collection system for Waterbury.
So this slide can kind of give you a feel for the size of the collection system that we're dealing with. The Waterbury Pollution Control Plant serves over 100,000 people, and that includes over 27,000 service connections, around 10,000 manholes, 20 pump stations, 320 miles of gravity sewer main, and 6 miles of force main. And then this chart on the right here gives you an idea of the age of the pipes in the system. So as you can see, most of the pipes are greater than 50 years old, and about a quarter are actually over 100 years old. So this makes CMOM-related tasks even more challenging given the age of the system. And it should also be noted that Waterbury also accepts sewer inflow from certain neighboring towns as well. So in 2018, Waterbury retained Jacobs to perform operation and maintenance related services. As part of this, you can see some of the tasks that the Jacobs WPC team does every year, which includes CCTVing and cleaning certain quantities of sewer every year. This also involves fog, IPP, building, and manhole inspections. And they do system repairs as well. We're actually able to do short liners in-house. As you can see in this image on the right, they're impregnating the liner with resin here, and that helps in emergency situations because they can resolve the problem themselves right there.
All right, so with a collection system of this age, it's kind of expected that we're not going to be running perfectly, so we do have minor sewer backups and bypasses. So to kind of get a handle on why these happen to our system and what's causing them, over the last few years, I think since 2012, we've put together what's caused those bypasses. And as you can see that we have bigger issues with debris and fog, rags and roots, and then I&I. And also you should note that this table counts some things more than once because typically a backup is caused by not only I&I but fog together. So this gives a nice snapshot of what we should be focusing on. So from reviewing historical data and what causes our bypass, the CMOM correction action plan was developed. So we decided that our focus areas was to make sure we update our GIS to be as realistic as possible. And then following that, we wanted to upgrade the asset management program for Waterbury and make sure it's a computer-based program. And then to focus on those I&I issues, we had that be one of our focus areas along with the fog. So here's just, the first task was the GIS, and it was a pretty simple thought to update the GIS using the as-built records that we had available. It took a lot of manpower, though, to go through all of the as-builts for the collection system, considering how large it is. But by 2019, we pretty much have it 99.9% updated, and then any kind of inconsistencies that are found in the field while we do our CCTV and cleaning is automatically updated through our asset management program, which I'm going to go into a little bit more in the next slides. So just an overview of our asset management program. So we have a bunch of different moving parts to help us keep track of everything. Everything is basically put together through the GIS. That's our powerhouse. But we use other programs like Sudoku, our CCTV inspection software, and then Scream to help us keep track of everything and then kind of use predictive programming to figure out what our next steps should be. So you can see in that little picture, the GIS is in the middle, and that talks to our Scream, and it talks to Sudoku, and it talks to the field inspections, and everything is uploaded into the GIS so it's easily understood and represented. So one of the pieces was Sudoku, which most people probably haven't heard of. It's just our work order system, but it gives us a lot of great tools. The biggest thing is that it's very easily accessible from any phone or tablet, and the guys in the field can literally just pop it up on their phone and fill out an inspection form right there. You take pictures and it goes right into the inspection, and then that all is hosted online, and all of the inspections are kept there. So, and it's represented in a GIS map if that's the way you like to see it, and you can click on any asset and it'll pull up all of the inspections that have happened there. So let's say you get a phone call, we have an issue here, you can figure out when was the last time we CCTV'd it, is there history of issues, and these, it really makes it quick and easy to understand, and it also keeps track of what we call key performance indexes, and that's very useful. So for the management level, so you can make sure, are we keeping track to our required CCTV amounts? Are we having more call before you digs than we usually do? Are we replacing manholes that have been marked to be replaced? At the bottom you can see some of those key performance indexes shown, and just so you know, there's like 30 of these, keeping track of all the different things that the WPC is doing. And then as we were putting our asset management program together, we realized we need to figure out what pipes should be greater considered than others. So we put a consequence of failure matrix together. So you can do this in multiple ways. Some municipalities just do it based on pipe diameter. I would recommend that for cities that are very, have the same type of use. But for somewhere like Waterbury, where we have hospitals, we have schools, we have residential areas and restaurants, we decided that it would be good to make a unique one, especially the one that puts a higher priority on our hospitals or medical service areas or schools. So that was the basis for here. As you can see, that was one of our main categories. And then taking those tools, we realized we have a huge system, it's aging, we can't fix it all at once, so we need to prioritize what we're doing. And we decided to use a tool called Scream. This program has a benefit where it can help you predict when pipes will fail, when you need to clean them next, and it can also give you an idea of cost. So in this picture you can see that it kind of takes your PACP coded pipes and other inspection data, and it takes it a few steps further. It takes your cost of failure scores and gives you a risk, when your pipes, so you can prioritize what pipes to either clean or inspect first. And then it takes do we need to re-inspect this today, tomorrow? Do we need to rehab it? And then finally it'll calculate cost, level planning cost for that. So it's a great tool, and the next slide shows you a couple more reasons why we decided to use this. So as you can see, Scream incorporates all different types of inspections, which is great because we're not just looking at our CCTVs, we're looking at our smoke testing, CCTV, manhole inspections, dye testings. So all of that information is getting put into one program that helps you prioritize what you're going to do next. And it also has a way of calculating general I&I from defects. So that's another reason that we wanted to use Scream, because we do have what it looks like an I&I issue, and this way we're actually taking that into consideration while we're going to the next steps. So this is just kind of like an overview in case anyone is interested in how Scream thinks. So basically, Scream is scoring your pipes on multiple different things, or your manholes, and it's going to take all that in a matrix and then come out with your maintenance grades, and then they have one for your rehab grades and your repair grades. And you can see that higher consequence of failure pipes are going to be inspected first. Things that have been had previous issues will be put on your inspection list first. So this little matrix goes on for very long. We're just showing a little snapshot here, but just in case anybody was worrying about how it's thinking, this is how it's done. And the same thing, the next piece was the costing piece. So this kind of helps you understand how Scream is calculating these things. So you have, on the bottom, we have the 4 boxes. So what can you do with your pipe or your manhole? You can replace it immediately, manhole to manhole. You can repair it. So that's like a point repair. Or you can rehab it, like your lining. And then you have the do nothing maintenance. And then for each of those, you have different repair methods, because you can do like horizontal drilling for some pipes. You can dig that up, or you can line it, you can spot line it. So basically, Scream will calculate all of these, and then it will give you costs and tell you what things are more beneficial for you. These are just like level planning, or planning level costs, but it gives you an idea if you need to start putting a lot of money in savings to deal with your system, or if you don't have to save as much.
So in 2011, Anchor Engineering did a flow monitoring analysis in 5 meters in the city of Waterbury, and from that study, they came up with basically 2 problem basins in the collection system that they thought should be focused on for I&I removal. So enter Jacobs in 2019 with our SSES program, and we kind of use this as a baseline for our areas of study. We further broke these two problem areas up into smaller meter sheds, did our own flow monitoring analysis, and combined that with historical data to come up with our target areas for a second phase of the investigation, where we're going to go in, look, and see more specifically what assets are defective and need to be rehabbed, and go in and fix those. One thing that's been done already in 2019, the Naugatuck River levels were very low, allowing the WPC Jacobs team to actually walk through and replace defective manhole frames and covers. So as I mentioned, the two problem areas you can kind of see that were determined by Anchor Engineering, which is area 2 and 3 on this map. It's kind of a light gray and a light yellow. So Jacobs added 40 flow meters to these areas, and we were able to collect data from this using hydrographs and hydrologic modeling to show even more specifically in these areas where I&I seems to be entering the system, so we can go ahead and try to remove that. We're currently in phase 2. This is where we are now, taking the information from our phase 1 investigations. We're beginning to perform these I&I tasks for I&I removal. This includes smoke testing, manhole inspections, CCTV work, and external building inspections. And the goal here is just to figure out how can we reduce the most I&I for our money. And that's what we're currently working on right now. The SCREAM tool will allow us to do a cost analysis. As Karina was talking about before, we can analyze the different scenarios and figure out what works best for the city. Which moves us to the fourth key part of the CAP program, the updated FOG program for the city. So the FOG program involves educating food service establishments as well as the general public. As you can see on the right is kind of an example of a flyer that might be used to help educate to keep fog out of the system and ensure that the permitting requirements are being met. So keeping fog out of the system through FSE education and enforcement is important, but we also have to consider the large amounts of fog that can get into the system through residential areas if they're not also following these best management practices. So material such as this can be found on the WPC's website and is also mailed out with water and sewer bills now, basically saying try to collect the fats, oils, and greases and dispose of them properly in the garbage rather than washing them through the water that could end up in a storm drain or in the sewer system. Because as we saw at the beginning, fog is a major contributor for the backups and bypasses that the city is sometimes experiencing. So class 3 and 4 FSEs are inspected multiple times a year. Some things that they have to do are have fog pre-treatment systems in place, hang those best management practice posters that you saw on the other slide, and also hang no grease signs so that employees can be aware. And another thing, along with the general Department of Public Health inspections, they're also checking for fog issues at these food service establishments. And if they see a problem, they can contact WPC at that point to do a more in-depth inspection and also help the food service establishment remediate the issues that they're having. A lot of the issues that have been found so far are paperwork related at these food service establishments. So they will get a notice of violation, and then if the problems are not resolved, then that can result in a loss of their license for these restaurants and other establishments. And then another note, FSEs such as schools that might not be producing a lot of fats, oils, and greases in their food preparation process, if they can meet certain criteria, then they can request a waiver for these general permit requirements.
All right, so just to summarize what we have been talking about today, we just did a couple snapshots of our CMOM program. I could probably talk for days about what we're really doing at Waterbury, but just to summarize the main focus areas, we were able to update our GIS pretty much fully, and any kind of issues are going to be resolved as we go through and do our CCTV program. Our asset management program was updated beyond what we had originally thought we would do in the capital or the correction action plan. That was because we decided to bring in Scream so that we could be reactive instead of a proactive system. And then we are in the middle of our I&I control by doing our SSES, and hopefully by this time next year we have a step forward on how to remove large quantities of I&I. And then our fog program was fully updated, and all FSEs and residents are being updated about how to keep fog out of the system. Any questions?
I just have one. Many people here that come from smaller systems, so with the software for Screen, do you offer that service as sort of like a consultant base where you can say, we have the software, we can come in and do an analysis of Screen and utilize its strengths?
Yep.
Repeat the question.
So he is asking if for smaller municipalities, if we can offer Scream programming on a consulting basis, and we actually do that all over the country. We typically will start with a pilot program, so we take your existing data and we show you what we can do, and then after that pilot program, we will make it live on your system, so when you get CCTV, it will constantly update. So that's typically how we do it.
I have a question too.
Mm-hmm.
The KPIs you talked about, how do you initially set the KPIs? Because it's always a challenge when we set KPIs with operators or things like that. I mean, you either come in really low or you come in really high. So what are you using as a guidance? I'm sure it's a moving target.
Yes, it is a moving target. Oh, he's asking how do we set our KPIs? So it is a moving target, like you said. We have a lot of help from Subaru. That company, they pretty much helped us set up all of the KPIs, and we base it on what we've been, because Jacobs is contracted to do this work for Waterbury, so we base most of our KPIs on what we've been contracted to do. So that helps, I guess, for municipalities that don't have that. It's a little bit more of a touch and go.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right. Thank
Thank
you,
you, everyone.
Great job. Thank you so much. This is the future of our organizations here. So big hand again for them. They did a nice job. I don't want to wearing my hat as the engineering director at GNHWPCA. The CMOM program is the backbone. It's the way you should be doing your business. It's just the best management practices of how to run your collection system. So I can tell you right now, we have EPA, we know about them, we know about DEP, they want us to do a good job. There's no requirement for you to really have a CMOM program. It's best management practice. But I can tell you right now, there's third-party advocacy groups looking over you all the time. And I can tell you right now from sitting in my shoes in New Haven that if you have a sewer break in your community, which you will have, it's going to happen. It's going to happen to every single one of you that's in a municipality here. If it's significant, or maybe not so significant, it'll be reported like everyone does their due diligence and reports it to DEP. But that third party will pick that up, and they're going to issue an FOI to you to ask for information on what happened, why all this. The first thing they're going to look at is to see if you have a CMOM program. And if you don't have one, you will have no legs to stand on, and you will have the third regulator at your back door, and they're going to get in your daily business. They're going to want to be involved in your future. You can go to Darien, you can go to Danbury, and you can find out exactly what type of new order you'll be under with these third parties. So, don't want to underestimate the valuable how valuable the CMOM program is, so I encourage you guys to look into it, whether it's with Jacobs or with anyone else. It's a must-have. So that being said, we're going to go into a coffee and cookie break. It's going to end promptly at 10:45 because we're doing the live stream. I'm told we have 30 people on there, so we want to keep time with that. So enjoy your time to socialize and actually see each other, and hope you enjoyed the first half, and we'll come back for more. Thank you.